So, welcome back. You've probably guessed, we're the Unsettled, and we kind of delve into a lot of unsolved and really quite horrific cases. And we come up with our own theories roughly near the end. So if you want to stay tuned for the ending and see our thoughts and processes on the whole case, then you probably enjoy the video and you probably will end up watching the whole thing. Anything to say?
The whole of season 2 that we're doing is the most gruesome, horrific, horrifying stuff.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
I'm pumped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more pumped than a dick pump.
Well,
I'm pumped.
I can imagine.
I'm hyped. I'm ready. So let's get into it. We're going to discuss today the Grime Sisters, or as I like to call them, the flesh-coloured mannequins.
They have been described that way.
It's a good saying.
Mm.
It's a good saying. So if you know the story, you probably know where we're headed. If not, you're in for like a little gruesome treat. This is where we amp it up a little level.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously over the next couple of episodes, they're going to get progressively worse. So viewer discretion is advised. There is certain bits in these cases which are a bit more
gruesome,
extreme.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it interesting, because we did say we're going to get a lot more extreme with this.
Yeah.
And considering you guys like the disgusting aspect of it, and I like writing about it, and he loves being sick about it.
Mm. Well, there's a few coming up that if people don't feel that icky feeling at the back of their throat,
then they got COVID and they need to see a doctor. That's the way it's going to be. So if you got COVID, it's at home, bored,
give us a watch.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And if you really wanted to, I suppose you could like view our other previous episodes and see how we've progressed. As you can see, we have lovely artwork now. The link in the description will be for this type of artwork, as you really enjoy it. And if the cross falls off, that's a bonus for us. So anyway, this is the case of the Grime Sisters, the flesh-coloured mannequins. So it was a few days after Christmas, and Barbara, aged 15, and Patricia, 13, but it does state online that she was 12, and there was other bits where she says she's 13. We're human, we might make mistakes here and there, but we're going with 13 as that seems to be the most popular one out of all of them, right? So no, they wanted to go to the theatre with the money they had saved up. Both girls loved Elvis Presley and wanted to see Love Me Tender again. I've never seen that film.
Yeah, it's good. I've been brought up with my grandparents who love Elvis, and
so have I, but I weren't forced to watch a film.
No, but you know, some days are boring sometimes, and
I just used to wake up to, was it G.I. Blue or something? Weird. Yeah. So obviously, you know, they promised their mother, Loretta, they'll be home before midnight. So this is a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old being home at midnight. I know my grandmother never used to lock the door during the day or when she went to the shops when she was younger, and her family never did the same, but still, like this is a time, I can't remember the date, I'm pretty sure I wrote it down somewhere, but this, what was the date of the crime? Somewhere?
December 1956.
I know it's 1956, but seriously, like, you could get away with so much shit back then.
Oh yeah, to be fair, like, when my grandparents were, like, young and stuff, they said that they could literally leave their front door and back door wide open and go out for the day.
That's what I mean, right? But what I'm getting at is, back then they didn't have the investigational tools that they do today.
No.
So you could get away with so much shit. And it would just go unheard of. To some extent. Right, so anyway. The sisters boarded the bus from their home in McKinley Park to the Brighton Theatre and bought the $1.50 tickets for the double feature.
Yep.
They were seen by their friend Dorothy Winehart? Winehart?
Winehart.
Yeah,
I
wonder if she's alive.
Sorry if we butchered that, but
I butcher last names, you'll get used to that. During the concession, buying popcorn. So that's where they were seen by their friend Dorothy, right?
Yeah, just before the second showing.
Yeah. So it's clear they made it to a cinema and had purchased food. To me, if I was a parent, I still wouldn't let my kids out this late.
Oh, no.
No.
Not nowadays.
Allegedly, Loretta said the girls were never late. And it seems a regular occurrence for these girls to be out till midnight.
Yeah, that's how it reads on every report that I've.
So no, when they didn't come home at midnight, which they were meant to.
Yeah, it's 11:45. They're expected home.
Yeah.
That was the last bus was 11:40, and it takes 5 minutes from the closest bus stop.
Yeah. So Loretta sent another of her 2 children to the bus stop to see if the girls were on their way home.
Yeah, it was the eldest daughter and the eldest son.
Okay.
I would assume.
But there was no sign. By 2 a.m, the sisters still had not arrived home. Among many buses that had stopped.
Yep, there was 3 buses.
Yep.
That the eldest daughter and the brother witnessed passing.
Yep.
They stopped to let some kids off. The first bus that stopped, that's when named Barbara, the Weinhardt child. Dorothy. That's when Dorothy got off.
Okay.
On the first bus. That was
Weinhardt child.
The Weinhardt child.
Sounds so dodgy.
The
Weinhardt child.
But no, she got off after the first showing. That was the first bus.
Yep. But then other buses repeated. No sign of them.
No. 2 buses went past, and that's when they left. And this was approaching just past 12, I believe. But the last bus was at 1:15.
Yeah.
And that's when it stopped, kind of thing.
Yeah. So basically, the mum's hopes began to vanish. It was out of character for the girls to be even 5 minutes late. So Loretta called the police in the early hours of 29th of December, telling them their daughters...
just before she called the police, she also called the friends.
Yep.
Because they thought, oh, maybe she's gone. Maybe they've gone back to a
These
friend's
children
house.
seem reckless.
I know. Maybe they've gone back to a friend's house before.
I'm not sure. Like, you guys can leave a comment or whatever down below or whatever, but even at 15, you wouldn't let your daughter out till midnight.
I know.
And
to be fair, even at 15, like
even 16,
as soon as
maybe
the
18.
street lamps went on, mate, my nan was at the door. And I was 15. And it used to be a race before the fucking street lamps going on, and that was it.
But you loved it in the summertime, though, didn't you? You allowed that a little bit later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See. So obviously the mother is now kind of getting worried. So she's called the police and explained that her daughter's never come home, and she literally said to them they're now missing.
Yeah.
Right. The police first thought the girls had run away from home, so the police never saw this as urgent.
No, and to be fair, even back then they still had the 24-hour policy.
Yeah.
Where obviously if they're not missing, or they're missing, but they're not presumed missing until 24 hours or 48 hours.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So even the police and the investigators assumed, because of the crazy love for Elvis Presley, that they might have caught a bus to Nashville with a chance to meet their idol.
Yeah, for the live, because he was doing a live show in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. So anyway, the story went national, and Elvis Presley came forward.
Yeah, on multiple media and radio.
He came forward and made a television
announcement.
I guess it was more like a ploy. Like, hello, like, come home type of thing.
A plea kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like more like a, hey, look, you need to come home. So basically, Elvis actually got wind of this and went on TV and said, look, you know, basically...
From his home, I might add, in Graceland.
Yeah, he basically said, look, if you're real Elvis fans, please come home.
Go home to your mama.
Yeah. And to me, it's... I don't know.
It's weird, though.
Yeah.
Like, this whole story is weird.
See, I know the fact that if, especially women, if young girls or women go missing, as soon as it reaches that 24-hour point, they're 90% chance they're dead.
Yeah.
And at this point, you're kind of thinking like, okay, they might have run away, but now it's getting a bit more coverage. It's a long time, really, and you'll see what I mean by a long time. At this point, the police now have like raised the alarm. The 2 sisters have been abducted. Yeah. And much to the mother's relief, the police now took the case seriously.
Yeah. It actually sparked one of the most longest and one of the most longest manhunts kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also one of the biggest that Chicago have ever seen, like the manpower that they drew in.
So the report now stated, abduction instead of missing.
Yeah.
So now the police were thinking, hang on, they have actually been abducted. Officers from all over were called in on this case. Hundreds of locals now volunteered to look and help for the missing sisters. That's pretty crazy.
There was 100 police officers that were assigned full time to this case.
That's crazy.
That's mental.
So many people also came forward, saying they saw the girls on the night of December 28th. Teenagers who was at the theatre that night said they think they saw the girls getting into a Mercury automobile. Yeah. Right. With a young man who looks similar to Elvis Presley. Yeah. I also put a little smiley face there. So I thought that was quite good. Other witnesses saw the two girls getting on a bus heading east into Chicago after the movie had finished. One of the witnesses, a bus driver who told the police he dropped them off halfway between the theatre and their home at 11 p.m. That's the bus driver.
Did they forget something?
A teenage boy said he saw the girls jumping in and out of doorways at as his parents picked him up and they drove past them, right? This was near McKinley Park, 2 blocks from their home. With so many people coming forward, investigators didn't know where to start.
No, they kind of went...
This is where, like, basically the whole area literally scattered into different places, and investigators were being led on red herrings, goose chases, and this is where it kind of all gets a bit messy. Yeah, it does get messy. So, 15,000 flyers were distributed. Canals and rivers were searched. A reward was put up for the Grimes local church. For information, more than 3,000 people were questioned.
It was $1,000 reward for the safe return or for whereabouts.
Sorry. I will repeat. It weren't 3,000, it was 300,000 people were questioned. Yeah. That is insane.
Yeah, that's mental.
That is insane. So 2,000 of them was interrogated. Like, how many suspects? And how many dodgy fuckers are in this place?
They did say it was over 6,000 suspects that had prior links to these kinds of crimes.
300,000. People suspected. Like, how many...
They literally went house to house.
I'm not being funny, but how many fucking dodgy people live in this area?
Well, that is true.
Like, I'm not being funny. They did it in our hometown. They'll probably get about 8. One of them's you.
Yeah, that's not guilty.
So...
Or the rest are guilty of something.
So the case was now spiralling out of control. And Loretta, the mother, was no closer to finding her daughters. Which I think is a bit more like... If you're the mother at this point, you must be thinking like, what the fuck is happening? Like, that's the only thing that would be running through my head is so many people have come forward. You've got so many suspects and you're thinking like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what's going on? But all I'd like to say is...
You think, like, even... The problem is, obviously, because it was well documented, like, it was the media coverage just went boom all over this stuff.
But even now,
but you think, like... It basically caused mass hysteria.
And for me to think that 2 girls, say they were my daughters, right? All this shit is happening and not much has been done.
No.
And yet everyone's coming forward with
There's
information.
About 200,000 people.
And no one can find...
Here, there, and
no one can find fuck all.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
No one's doing nothing.
So almost a month after the girl's disappearance on the 22nd of January 1957... Leonard Prescott was driving down, is this German Church Road? German Church Road, Willow Springs, about 16 miles from where the girl's home is in McKinley Park. Yeah, I did say it was about 16, didn't I?
Yeah, I said it was just over.
Yeah. When he noticed something by the verge near Devil's Creek. It just sums it up in one hit, doesn't it, really? Devil's Creek.
The thing is, Willow Springs and Devil's Creek it's a nice area. Like for sightings and stuff.
Okay, so Leonard at the time thought he saw mannequins. He continued to drive. Yeah. Right?
He went on home.
But as he was now coming to almost getting home, he started double guessing himself. He got home and spoke to his wife and told her to come with him. He was now certain as he drove back to Devil's Creek, it was
something wrong.
Yeah, it wasn't mannequins. Right. Patricia and Barbara's body lay in the fallen snow. Both the young girls' bodies naked and frozen stiff.
Yeah, his wife actually fainted upon... Because he obviously stood back.
Yeah.
And was just like, they're over, like, That's what I saw over there. The wife went over to have a look, screamed with what she'd seen, and fainted.
Now, if I came across two mannequin-y looking things in the snow, I wouldn't faint. I'd be like quite intrigued.
Well, no, she said because all that's running through her head is, oh, it's mannequin, or it's a bit of rubbish in the thing, or like he was the one that saw it.
Yeah.
But then when she went and actually
imagine
realised
just driving down the road going, oh, mannequins. That ain't mannequins. That ain't mannequins.
That ain't mannequins.
I'm going to continue driving, but that ain't mannequins. There's no. Excuse me, wife. Can you come with me? Because I think I've seen bodies, not mannequins. But the craziest part about it was, so they actually, like, obviously, you know, the mannequins were the two girls that have been missing. Patricia and whatever her name is, Barbara, right? Barbara. But their bodies weren't examined until the next day.
No.
Which now makes me think, like, why'd you give it a day?
Well, to be fair, they had to thaw it out before the autopsy. I'm not going to lie. So as they were, as you said, I was about to say, they were frozen.
Now, I'm going to say this, but you're going to change it slightly. But Barbara's body had wounds caused by rats.
Yes.
And you're going to say puncture wounds.
There was 3 marks. No, they did find that there was bite marks from rodents.
Yeah.
But obviously where they had bitten on certain areas, it looked like bruises.
Okay. Caused a bit of swelling.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
But there were 3 distinctive puncture wounds, which they can't explain.
Okay.
Because they weren't that deep.
Yeah.
But...
They were deep enough.
They were deep enough, but they weren't the cause of the death.
Yeah. She also had blunt force trauma to her face and head. This is Barbara, right?
Yeah.
Pathologists believe both girls had some form of sexual intercourse before their death. Right? Patricia's body had bruises to her face, arms, hips and legs. No drugs or alcohol in any of them was found.
No.
Right? The stomach contents. This is the bit where
that's what throws everything off for me.
So the stomach contents, when they checked over the body, contained popcorn. Yeah. And the dinner they ate.
And other
on
snacks
the day,
and different things.
On the day they went missing, indicating the girls were dead 5 hours after leaving the theatre.
At least. In between 5 and 9.
Bear this in mind as we progress through. However,
which approaches the approximate cause of death, approximate death, at about 4:30, 4:45 in the morning.
Right. However, one of the pathologists believed the girls had been held captive and then killed closer to the day of discovery. Right. Now, they'd been missing a month.
Yep.
Right? They would have eaten something within that month.
Yep. Or it would have passed through their system
and it would be still visible. It wouldn't just be popcorn on the day that they had popcorn. Which, to me, indicates that they did actually die on the day.
Yeah. It does seem, to me, it seems that.
Right.
Like, but whether they were kept, which I will cover in my thing later on.
Yeah.
But
right. So during this time in Chicago, they had heavy snowfall. Now this is the bit that doesn't quite make sense to me because the bodies had obviously been discovered, and there was a thin layer of ice found on both the girls' bodies. That was a clear indication the bodies would have needed to be warm. Which then would have made them die that day they were found. But then they've gone a whole month without drink or food.
And they withheld their own digestive system.
They'd literally held in their shit for a month.
Which doesn't make sense.
Right. Also, if the bodies had been dumped, they would have previously, say 5 hours after, as one pathologist stated, the semen residue would not be present on the skin, not inside or out. Because of the snow, and if the bodies had been dumped for the whole month...
It depends.
Oh, what, you mean just dribbled out? It would have frozen. It would
exactly, it would have frozen.
It would have frozen, but what I'm saying is it would have also melted with the heat that they'd already had before their death.
Yeah, and redeposited itself basically. Just because the core temperature of the two girls was still frozen.
This, like Matt, this also indicated that the both were sexually abused not long before their death,
before
or
their
after.
Death. No.
What do you think so far? As rain and snow would have cleared it all off at this point if they were sexually assaulted on the day.
Yeah, but it depends because they had pretty much snowfall all month. I'm not gonna lie.
But then, right, so 2 bodies found in snow, right?
But if it say on the first night there was and they were dumped.
Yep.
And there was a really heavy snowfall, which there was.
Yeah.
And it piled up and preserved the bodies.
Okay, well, yeah.
So then, obviously, throughout the month, it would have sort of started to melt.
Yeah.
But then you have another cold snap. It's going to refreeze, and then the snowfall on top of that is just going to keep it preserved.
Okay, right.
But then, obviously, once it all started to melt
me and
away
you
properly...
Me and you aren't pathologists. We don't know much in terms of this. But the theory on the fact that they...
But I know if you flash froze something.
Yeah.
Basically, the ice can lift off, say, a fingerprint.
Yeah, it can.
And then, like, say you had ink or something on your finger.
Yeah.
It can lift off that ink fingerprint.
Okay.
And then, sort of, as it froze, it can redeposit it back onto a different part of the hand. It depends where it's set.
Okay, right. So before we move on, right, do you think they were killed the night they went missing at the cinema, or do you think they were dumped that day?
I think they were held.
You were held alive? Because they must have been, I'm not being funny, if you store bodies for a month in a warm room, they're going to fucking stink. And their stomach and everything would just gradually fall out if they're dead.
True.
Right? So everything's all intact.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's fell out.
No, but then if they were also frozen and just used as, I don't really want to say it, but a sex popsicle.
A sex popsicle?
Or some kind of, use.
There's so many things running through my head right
now. Yeah, I know. It's not good. I've got the same thoughts.
I just thought, them old little ice pops.
Oh, the milk.
Mini milks! Oh. Right, so my thought on this is the fact that some witnesses came forward. Right? And these witnesses, this is why I kind of think, okay, so the girls were alive up until the 29th of December. They weren't killed that day because the witnesses that came forward saw the girls after the night of the 28th. A security guard told police, I gave the girls directions on the morning of the 29th of December. On the 30th of December, a restaurant owner said he saw both girls in the company of an employee.
Okay.
Right. Benny Bedwell, Patricia was staggering around and needed help.
Okay.
Right? A hotel clerk that same night said the girls tried to rent a room on the 30th of December.
And where was this?
This was in the area.
Oh, this was still in...
Yeah. Okay. 3 employees said they saw the girls dancing and singing in the record store. Right, no, I'm just going through what these witnesses come through. Yeah. One woman in Nashville, Tennessee, 470 miles away from the girls' home, said they was in the restroom on the 9th of January. She took the girls to the state employment agency as they was looking for jobs and money.
Okay, so that would fit with some of the... No, that would fit with some of the possibilities that I've also read.
Yeah. But with so many theories on what happened, or who saw who and who saw them, it's very unclear just how long the 2 sisters had been dead for. Yeah. Could it be that the snow that appeared to fall on the 9th of January had kept the girls' bodies in good condition, like you said, right? Until it began to thaw out, right? Or was the girls killed, then stored elsewhere, then dumped? Right?
That's what I mean. It was... So... Because it's the way that they were found.
Yeah.
So I can't remember which one it was, but one was on the floor face up.
Yep.
The other one was The other one was on the floor.
Yep.
On the side. With the legs slightly up to her stomach. And the other one was then basically dumped.
Okay.
Her back was laying over the like bottom girls.
But don't you think it's a bit strange that loads of people saw these girls, and obviously this is where it threw investigators off.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I mean.
Because so many people saw these girls, and when you look at the pictures of the girls, you can't really mistake them. It's not like your typical plain Jane. They have very distinctive features, which you'll probably see in the thumbnail that we create for you guys. But with so many things.
True, but it takes me back to an earlier thing that I found out. The police had hired, basically, chucked so much manpower into this thing.
Yeah, of course they did.
They even, as you said, the amount of volunteers, the amount of things. So they were criticised well after this investigation about how they went around it. Because you think all of those people, volunteers and God knows else what, that are not necessarily trained to spot
something.
Clues or
something. I get what you mean. They don't have the eye for it.
Yeah, but they're also was basically complaining that they've got all of these non-police officers roaming around and trampling over evidence.
Just going over what you're saying, you have so many people in one area, something's bound to get overlooked.
Yeah.
Right? And as the saying is, too many people spoil the broth. Yeah. Right? But for now, obviously we know that a whole month had passed until they were found. They were abused, they were killed somehow. Now obviously we're going to get into our theories in a little bit, but I want to go over some of the suspects that it could have been before we go any further. Okay?
I'd just like to say, obviously, on the autopsy report, the two pathologists that were constantly arguing over the case, they actually writ down on the death certificate.
Yeah, I guess it would be the cause of death.
As it was a secondary shock. Now, secondary shock, this covers a lot of things, but
it could be cold. Your body goes into shock.
Yep, like hypothermia, cold shock.
Yep.
Hence why it was maybe a flash frozen thing.
Yeah, or it could have been the sheer fear.
Or the fear aspect. Now, I've heard of other cases and stuff that obviously they've been scared to death. Yeah. Literally.
I mean, we will go over some where you are literally scared to death.
And it brings me back to to a murder that I've read when I was doing some other things.
You read murders?
I was a weird child. I was reading God knows else what and
yes, you were.
Everything else, but no, it was actually a girl that was actually scared to death. But the way that she was scared to death was she basically took a substance that obviously you see things.
Hallucinogen.
Yeah.
Hallucinogenic. Mushrooms.
Probably was, to be fair. I can't
hate mushrooms.
I know that it just gives you those things like the hallucinations. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, but it's hallucinogenic.
Yeah, and she actually died clutching her knees, and her chin was on the top of her knees.
Right.
That's how she died. She basically had a cardiac arrest, heart attack, basically.
But whatever she was seeing,
it scared her to death.
So at this point, it could be anything.
It could be anything. It could be the fear aspect.
You're probably throwing people off now.
That's a good thing.
Maybe. Right, let's get into our suspects.
Yeah.
Right. Edward Bedwell, known as Benny, a drifter in the Chicago area, worked odd jobs according to the restaurant owner. Benny was pot washing. What's that? He was pot washing at the restaurant. Right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That is when the owner of the restaurant saw Benny and another man with the girls on the 30th of December. He was arrested and interrogated for 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? He was charged with the murder of the sisters and signed a 14-page confession.
Yep, that he didn't know was a confession because he can't read or write.
He also said another man, William Cole, was his accomplice, where they visited bars, brought the girls food, which they didn't eat, but they were obviously, you know. He said, basically, he did the confession and said, yeah, he brought them food, he sexually assaulted them, and then he left them on the side of the road, right?
Which would fit.
But things aren't adding up.
But
they aren't adding up. So apparently he bought them hot dogs, but there was no hot dogs in the girls' stomachs. He also gave them alcohol, but there was no alcohol in their stomach either.
Nope.
Nor were they been beaten to death like he said they were. I don't know why people claim they've done something when they haven't.
Well, basically, right, if you're sitting in a...
I get it.
Say anything
I get it.
about 5 hours.
I get it, but it gets a bit more funny, I guess, in this sense. Not saying the case is funny, because it's quite horrific.
No,
but
their conclusions, it's just...
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
So anyway, the daughter's mother came forward, calling Benny Bedwell a sicko, and stating it's all a lie. The place Benny mentioned, West Madison Street, they didn't even know. They didn't even know where this restaurant was, these girls. William did admit to being with Benny and the two girls, but said they wasn't the Grimes sisters. So who the fuck did they kill? And that he had no idea on if Benny had killed anyone. He was also denied allegations. Bedwell changed his tone when he said they locked him up and then told him if he confessed, they'd let him go. So he did. And he lied. He lied. So it wasn't Mr. Edward Bedwell. It was the police wanting a victim so they could stop what they were fucking doing, basically. Lazy police work.
Yeah.
Lazy police work.
Shoddy from the start.
So we have another guy, Walter Kranz. I'll probably say his name wrong. A self-declared psychic was held accountable for the girls' murders. Right?
Did he think so?
He probably knew so. He called the police after seeing the ransom of the, you know, the ransom and stuff. You know, not a ransom. The what's it called? It's not a ransom. It's a
reward money.
That's the ticket.
Right. I think I did it. Can I have the $1,000?
No, he apparently saw this, and he had a vision of the girls dead in the snow. He had a vision of this, and he called the police up and told them.
Okay.
Before he even found the girls.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, literally, he called them up and was like, I've just had a vision. I see the girls dead in the snow. Right? If you call the police up, and there's been no bodies found at this point, and you say, I think I've seen mentally
the girls dead
in the snow. You are a suspect.
You are definitely a suspect.
He put, the girls are dead under the snow. Their bodies are near Lyons Township. If I'm not mistaken, that could be wrong. I'm probably
yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah.
He hung up. The police tracked his call
and arrested him.
And due to how close his vision was, upon when they found the women, he was now their #1 suspect.
Yep.
They also suspected him.
You should have seen that.
Yeah, you should have saw that coming. Right. They also suspected him for a ransom note Loretta received, but handwriting didn't match. And despite his psychic prediction, he wasn't found guilty and denied all involvement after being interrogated numerous times. But I'm not being funny. If you call up the police and the girls ain't even found yet, and you go, they're dead in the snow, and you put the phone down and go, that'll help them. And all of a sudden, can you come with me, sir? No. Like you said, you should have saw it coming. I'm sure the girls saw it coming. Max Flagg, if that's his name, he's probably wrong. A 17-year-old came under suspicion for the girls' murders. Due to his age and laws, he was not allowed to do a polygraph test. However, Captain Ralph, I didn't say his name, convinced him to do one anyway. He was so certain, this like inspector captain guy. He subsequently confessed to the murders, but because the test wasn't legal, because of his age, he couldn't be charged, right? He was released due to lack of evidence, but he was arrested a few weeks later for another death of another young woman, so he still got put in fucking prison, the weirdo. Right, so Charles Mannequins. You ready for this guy? You like this guy? So cold case detectives.
Really like this guy.
Cold case detectives have looked at this guy as their #1. He is a confessed child killer who killed Bonnie Lee Scott in 1957, that same year, right? Loretta Grimes received phone calls One stating, and I quote, "I undressed your girls." Doesn't sound that bad already. Then went on to say, "One of your girls has deformed toes that cross over." Must have got really close to their feet. And this type of information was not known public, even after the bodies were found. No one gave out any information about birthmarks or anything else. But this cold caller, should we say Charles Malinquist, kept calling up during that whole month span, saying things about the sisters that only you would know if you stripped them down and had a good old look at them. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is, it is pretty much it's him. On the same night, which newspapers reported Bonnie Lee Scott's death, Loretta received another cold call. "I got away with another one." You're just baiting.
You're just waiting.
It's like literally killing someone outside the police station, waving at them and vanishing, and then calling them up, going, "I did it. You'll never catch me." So Bonnie's remains were found a mile from where the girls' bodies were. She was naked.
Coincidence?
Possibly, but she was found naked. As well, Charles Malinquist seemed. He seemed to like kids a bit, but he was actually put in prison eventually. He was sentenced to 99 years in prison, and he died within 8 years. Now, detectives believed...
And that was purely because of the Bonnie death, wasn't it? Yeah.
Now, detectives believed Malinquist killed the Grimes sisters.
Maybe.
Good thought process. So yeah, detectives believe that Malinquist killed the Grimes sisters, but not alone. Malinquist also had ties with the mob and people in the police department.
See there.
He was a man of strong power.
Yeah, but he had ties within the police station, so he can find out the details of the murders. But
he had ties, including the fact that he had friends in the police station, not friends in the pathologist room.
Well, we don't know. They're all one unit back then, mate.
You throw spanners and everything. But either way, this man had some strong power around the area, right? So, the case is still open today.
He could be involved, I don't think he was alone, though.
But there is no answers to who done this. None at all. And it remains open because we love our unopened, unsettling cases.
It's still a cold case today.
And the one thing that I will say about this, if you don't want to add anything else yet.
No.
Right, the one thing is that...
We've covered everything.
To me, this whole case kind of seems like someone needs to take control of it because there wasn't no control. Everyone was everywhere.
Literally, like, you've got people running over evidence, maybe.
You got people possibly spoiling it.
You got people picking up and going, "Oh, what's that? I don't know."
Oh, put it in the bin.
Yeah.
But Loretta Grimes stated, "My poor babies. Why couldn't the police have listened to me on the day that I called them? They would have had the true story half an hour after the girls went missing." So what did Loretta Grimes know that no one else knew? If she says...
That's what I mean.
They would have had the true story.
Yeah, not the whole story.
But the true story.
But the true story.
Instead of running around like fucking headless chickens. Do you want to go into your theories?
I think it is theory time.
It's theory time. Yay!
So, my theory. I believe they were picked up by a young adult. Whether the other person was already in the car, or they drove to a quiet area and that's where they met, or they're a group, maybe. So this location that they would go to would be quiet, out of the way. Maybe the person already scouted out this place. Maybe the girls wasn't the first people or person that they were looking for. Maybe they just wanted, you know, opportunists, maybe. So the girls were raped, beaten. Who knows? Maybe they were tormented while they were doing it. It doesn't. We will never know for sure. They were also then dumped outside of town, like we've discussed, 19 or so miles away. Did the people come from Willow Springs? Were they just passing through? Now, to me, these guys or guy, they would have to be very sadistic, you know, to do that kind of stuff, like to do that kind of thing. You have to be sadistic in the first place anyway. But the way that the girls were found, face up in the snow, ugh. Now, due to the harsh snowfall, as we discussed earlier, they had quite a heavy snowfall, and then afterwards, obviously throughout that month, the snow would have melted and fresh snow would have been placed on top all the time. So I can understand why they were so, lack of a better word, so beautifully preserved. Still grossing me out. Now, do I believe that they were there for a long time or shortly there? Myself, I believe they were dumped within that month, and they were held away from that site. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, so my theory on the Grimes sisters, I really do believe that they were still alive up till possibly the 28th, and that's just my rough thought process. I believe that they were still out and about, and they were actually abducted. Like, that was one of the main things that still stuck in my head. So they were abducted. They were abducted possibly, like I said, between 28th and 29th of December, and there was something that obviously went wrong here. Now, when I think about this and I think about like the effects of what could have happened, I think they were kept alive up until the snowfall. Now, the snowfall gave a good ground to dump the body. Whether they were actually buried when the snow began falling after being dumped and then the snow put on top of them, that is one thought process that's like sticks in my head. So they were alive, they were held, and then they were dumped as soon as that snow began to fall, because it was a heavy snowfall. So why not dump the bodies in snow, and pretty much the snow and ice would get away most of the, should we say, the forensic fingerprint marks. I also believe that obviously they were attacked. There was some trauma to the heads, some bruises, so on. So basically I feel that it was more of a sexual death rather than anything else. I feel that at this point, the main gist of the whole death itself was sexually related, because there was no stab wounds, there was no bullets. It was all pretty much what you could do with your own hands. So from this moment on, I'm now believing that they were alive. Witnesses obviously did come forward. They did say they saw them. Yeah, okay, they could have met up with someone that possibly could have told them. Maybe some guy was waiting outside, said he could convince them that he could take them to go see Elvis. They're likely to believe it. They're young, naive, gullible. They're in love with Elvis. If someone says, hey, I can get you to come and see Elvis, they're going to believe it, especially as it's not far away. So here we go. Someone abducted them, told them that possibly, hey, look, could have been waiting around for young girls at the cinema, took them, held them for so long, realised, oh shit, you know, their bodies and they're going to need food. What's the point? We'll get what we can out of them. And as Will actually said in his theory, possibly it was someone out of town. Someone driving through, saw an opportunity, took young girls who obviously liked Elvis. Good way to get people in your car. Hey, I can make you meet Elvis. I know him. And therefore he took them, did what he needed to do, killed them during the sexual assault, and then dumped the bodies as soon as snowfall came, because it's an easy way to dispose of a body for so long. And it washes away the evidence. That's what I'm coming up with. So what are your thoughts? So, the Grime Sisters' conclusion. So, we've discussed our theories. What sticks to your head?
You make good points.
I made a valid-ish point. Use a snowfall as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, you made a good point, it could be a stranger out of town. Driving through. Using, like, as you said, they could just drive through. And they could have been doing this.
It could have been opportunistic, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't know how many
I would like to say when I was
done before, you know, it just...
When you say that, I would like to say when I was reading up about this case, I came across that there was just loads of children going missing in certain areas. In different parts of the United States, near Chicago.
See,
so they could have been driving around.
I read this bit.
Yeah.
And there was Chicago, there was Kansas, the same kind of thing. It wasn't an Elvis show, but there was the same thing coming out of the cinema. That was in Kansas.
It's a very smart ploy to get someone into your car.
Oh yeah, like as you said.
It happens today.
Like, oh yeah.
Oh, I've got some sweets. Frutella, come in. You know? It could very much well be a bit of a kidnapping that way.
Yeah.
How do you get people into your car? Get in the van.
Or you stop. You have that. You have that chat like. Oh, do you know where the thing is? Like, I need some petrol. Like blah blah blah.
Mate, like what I'm saying to you, this
so
person or people could have easily targeted young girls who are madly in love with Elvis, and literally used Elvis as the main centre stage and been like, I can get you to come and meet him.
Yeah. Or
you drive them halfway out of town.
Yeah, let's go. I've got, you know, tickets to his live concert. Let's go.
Yeah, but whoever it was, we still don't really know.
No.
But the Melquist guy, or whatever the fuck his name is,
it's
a bit of a child killer.
No, I will say, like, he's a very good #1 suspect.
He'd be the only #1 suspect in that town. But you made a good point where it could have been a drifter going through different towns using the same ploy to get them into the car to kill them. Snowfall was just an easy way to dump bodies and hide them.
Yeah.
You have 300,000 people looking for these girls, and you use Snowfall to dump the body, put snow on top of them. You're just going to overlook it.
You don't even need it over the top, you know what I mean? Like you can,
but if you dump them on the day it begins to snow,
it's going to fall over them anyway.
Yeah. It's the perfect opportunity.
Like as soon as the body starts to cool, like it doesn't matter. It won't. It would stick to you.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't melt. It would just stick.
Yeah. As your body is warm.
It would build up the layers.
See, did I make quite a good point of they kept him alive for a certain amount of time? Until it then became apparent, hang on, I need to do something with these
This
girls.
is getting too big.
Yeah. Loads of people are now aware of this case. Loads of people are now in on this case. I need an opportunity. Oh, snow.
Perfect.
It's perfect. But we just don't know who. And even, like we said, it's a cold case. It's remained open. No one knows who. We've just come up with our own conclusion.
Yeah, we agree on certain things.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like your thought of a drifter coming in and doing it and then leaving, as other things had happened around the different areas in the United States.
Yeah.
And for that cooler though, that cooler to the mother keeps coming back, and it's still there. But then, I don't know if he's got ties with.
But then he could be involved. It could. Yeah, but as you said, like when I said that, obviously he's got ties to the police. Yeah. But you said that he was making phone calls during.
Yeah.
While
they were missing.
Yeah, so the police wouldn't really know.
The police never found the bodies until a month later.
Unless the mother would tell them that that's a specific thing, but then why would she tell them that?
Why would you say that if you've handed over photographs of what they look like, you wouldn't go, oh, by the way, they've got webbed feet.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
It wouldn't
do
come
that
across your
person.
mind.
No, not at the time.
Eye colour would, hair colour, how big they are, and possibly what they're wearing on the day. Not, oh, by the way,
yeah, have they got any?
My daughter has
features?
dodgy feet. I would understand tattoos or a scar, but
Yeah,
dodgy feet.
That's distinguishing
You're not.
feature.
Yeah, but you're not going to look at someone's feet and go, "That's her," because you're not going to see it because they're wearing shoes. It makes no difference.
Exactly. So it was like, how would they? How would he know that information? How would that circulate?
Yeah.
How would he know that before? But then
That makes sense.
he could have been involved, but not necessarily.
It could have just been child killing in general, because that's what he was sent down for.
Yeah, like he could have. It could have been the bit that sparked him off.
Yeah. Or, yet again, you still don't know. But if you're ever driving and you see some mannequins in the snow,
just keep driving. Don't stop.
It's probably not mannequins.
And yeah, probably not.
It's probably not. Really unsettled. That was unsettling.
Very much.
It gets worse from here on out.
Oh yes.
Stay tuned for the next one.